Honestly, I wasn't even gonna bother with this anime because the manga was one I dropped after a single volume. Undead Unluck was one I would have been completely content to ignore and never touch. And that would have been a mistake. To tell you the honest to goodness truth, I actually did enjoy the first few episodes of this series. It was funny and entertaining enough to keep me coming back, and I'll certainly continue watching from this point on. Undead Unluck is about a world where certain people have the power to completely override the rules of reality. In this particular case, we're talking about Fuko, whose power of unluck causes anyone she likes and makes contact with to suffer strokes of terrible bad luck. And Andy, whose undead ability makes it nigh impossible for him to die because of his regenerative powers. On the first day of their meeting, Fuko is planning of ending everything because her powers prevent her from living life at all. Of course, the moment Andy finds out about this, he becomes obsessed with her powers as he believes it has the potential to finally end his miserably long life. Honestly, this show is more entertaining on comedy and animation quality than anything else. While I can't say I'm really enthralled by a story that rushes into its major focus in about 2 minutes, it's still a solid piece of writing that at least holds water when it comes to popular entertainment. Personally, I would have liked a little bit more build up to the backstory and reveals of certain character elements, rather than just dumping Fuko and Andy into our laps and letting all things run. So because it jumps right into things instead of giving us that build up, it feels like it's rushed. I will say though that this structure is due to how the manga was written, and is part of why I dropped the series back then. On the flip side though, it hits the ground running pretty well and doesn't fumble anything because of its speedy start. It jumps right into action and comedy, which are the primary hooks it has, and there isn't any objective problem with that. It knows what it's here to do, and it doesn't pretend to be anything else, and simply markets itself as that. Its brand of comedy comes across better in the anime than it did in the manga, in my opinion. It actually manages to make the first episode of the series pretty fun. And like I said, the animation is good, though not the best. I appreciate that the creators took the time to make the action sequences and high-speed movement scenes look dynamic and cool. They easily could have cut corners and relied entirely on comedy, resorting to easier and less time-consuming methods of animation. But they didn't, and that deserves a shout-out for the work they put in. I also give credit to the power system in this series, and the whole idea of negators who bend and break the rules of the world being the foundation of the power system in the series, and that is something I rather enjoyed. It means there's a somewhat logical explanation to every power in the series and makes it possible to reason your way through how they work. This means that strategy becomes important, and strategy being a part of combat in an anime is something I really like, as compared to just raw power being the determining factor. Add in the creative ways in which Andy uses both his and Fuko's abilities, and it makes things more interesting than just him forcing his way through damage because he can regenerate. Still though, for all the things I like, it doesn't really make up for the fact that I find the story kind of lacking. Like I said, it doesn't really do much to make you feel anything for the characters in the beginning. It just sort of presents them and then jumps right into comedy driven by Andy's over-the-top personality. And while I don't find any of the characters particularly awful, I don't find them particularly attractive outside their surface level gimmick either. Any attempt at an emotional development feels kind of out of place as you don't get a solid connection to any one character right off the bat. You're told that Fuko is miserable in life and that she wants to die because of her powers, and you're told why. But it lacks the punch of good setup and delivery that skilled writing gives you. Because of this fact, I haven't found the story particularly compelling. That doesn't mean I think that it's poorly written, just that it lacks the finer details of skilled writing that makes a reader truly fall in love with a story. An appropriate analogy is that this show is like tasty fast food. It's not high quality, but it still tastes damned good. So while it's fun, it's just that, which is all entertainment really needs to be. Undead Unluck gets a shocking 8 out of 10 from me so far. I've been pleasantly surprised by a series I initially dropped because it felt like a poor excuse for Andy to play grab ass and didn't do much work to make it feel like a properly integrated part of the story. It's fun enough that I would say it's worth a shot. I'm sure there's more to the story than what I've been seeing so far, but for now I don't really feel any strong connection to the story other than some giggles and cool animation. And hey, I do like that intro too. Pretty catchy.